So Tim, it's great to see you at the air show. Welcome back to CNBC.
Good to be back.
So let's begin by just checking the sentiment. Give me the pulse check on the ground here at Airshow. How's business?
Well, I have to say that this is probably one of the busiest ones we've seen for many years. More exhibitors, more aircraft on the static, a lot more people, and there's a real buzz here today. And Le Bourget was a bit difficult this year for all the reasons that we know, but it seems that a lot of people perhaps have come here for hopefully a lot of trading activity, buying activity, etc. So everything's looking good at the moment. Weather's fantastic. So.
Speaking of buying activity, let's go straight into this new Boeing deal. $38 billion on day one of the air show. Walk me through this latest commitment.
Well, we've been working on plans for some time now with regard to what the fleet is going to look like in the next 15 years. And notwithstanding the delays we've had on the 777-9, the fact is that we were very much involved in the design of the aeroplane, knowing that it would eventually be the workhorse of the airline. And of course, with the 380s going by the late 30s, early 40s, we need something that was as close to the size as that. So it wasn't difficult for us to say that during the course of the 30s, on top of the 205 that we already had ordered of the 779 and 8, that we needed another 65. And to be quite honest, at the back end of the next decade, in the last 4 years, 5 years, we'll probably be ordering more.
How many more?
One, we'll start seeing the early ones, if they come in as they should do, starting to retire. And the expansion of the airline will probably see another 20, 30 coming in at the back end of the next decade. It won't, the management of the business then will look at all of that. But we've created a pathway of assets coming in at the times that we need them. We see holes at the back end of the next decade, but anything can happen in that time.
Walk me through this bet on Boeing as well. What gives you confidence that Boeing is actually going to be able to deliver?
Well, people like me have been around a long time, and I know the Boeing of old, and I know what Boeing could do, and they were really, really a great company. I see no reason why what has happened in the last decade cannot be fixed, and that Boeing cannot restore itself to its former glory of being an aeronautical engineering designer of excellence, producing fantastic products which have populated most of the airlines in the world anyway. And their attention now to quality control, safety of operation, quality control of plant, of stuff coming into the plant, and that quality gate issue, looking at everything, the systems and protocols. If they get all that right, they will do. It takes a bit of time to get there, but with the new management, I think they've got a really good fighting chance of getting and restoring her to a former glory. And that means that the airplanes that we get from them in this kind of order book, don't forget we've got 270 now of the 777, the biggest 777 order probably in history when you take it all together. I don't think we'd be doing that if we weren't confident that they weren't going to be able to deliver. So we're right behind them. We've been moaning, as you would expect. It has not been easy or cheap for us to remediate the lack of capacity. But in the end, you have to put your faith in what I believe to be a strong and sound company that, well managed, they'll get themselves out of this and rolling out aeroplanes at pace in the next 5-7 years.
So it seems like Boeing has started to get its act together, at least under Kelly Ortberg, and you have confidence in the management and the business. But when is the first aircraft actually going to be delivered?
To us, we hope in 27. Now look, it's easy. We're hoping the second quarter of 27, and we're kind of holding Boeing's feet to the fire. In the end, I believe this aircraft is sound. It's a very, very good airplane. The problem they have at the moment is because it's a new aircraft, what we call the header version, the certification paperwork requirements are huge. And they have to, obviously with things that have been going on in the past few years, they have to go through single thing with the FAA, which is also a little bit short-staffed. So that is slowing the thing down. It's not because the aircraft isn't in good shape. I really think it is. I think they've just got to work through that. So how long is that going to take? They're talking about 27, but if the FAA suddenly put a lot more inspectors onto the whole program, sooner rather than later, that could change. But at the moment, it's all driven by paperwork. I think Kelly Ortberg has been fairly vocal about that in the media recently. The aircraft is fundamentally sound. It should be. It's the most tested aircraft in history. Now they've got to get through all of that. So,
when you look at the state of the aviation industry today as well, what we've seen since COVID and what you and I have also discussed is this rise in demand, and it certainly doesn't seem to be abating. So as you bring on this new capacity, what routes do you see achieving that additional capacity first? And how is the airline ultimately going to grow from here, from a passenger perspective?
well, from a passenger perspective, Emirates is very ambitious, as you know. We're optimistic, and we're an organic model. So when we roll out that 15-year plan, looking at the places across the planet that we could reach with the new assets coming in, don't forget Fly Dubai is very much part of the shareholders' plan. If you put these two airlines together with the 380 at the top and the MAX 8 at the bottom, and all the other bits and pieces in between, we have an enormous set of assets, can do all sorts of things, 500-mile, nautical mile sectors, up to 7.5, 8, 10,000. And when we looked at the planet and all the places that we know would be of interest to us, and you have to contextualize the fact that Dubai is now growing at such a pace now, it's becoming a truly global eye-catcher. It's not just about sun, sea and sand, it's about the diversification of the economy, moving into all sorts of areas that people would never have done. Even today, they won't contemplate doing that. But these people of the government is really on this. So they're diversifying. The population grows at pace. The UAE is also moving at pace. So the best thing they can do, a pillar of that policy, is to have an aviation community, an aviation hub, which we're building, which will serve the needs of the nation. After all, you can't really get here any other way. Ships a few, but you know it's quite difficult. But this is absolutely critical, and I think that is demand for Dubai as it grows, as well as growing across the network. So we'll be able to connect just about every city pair, first, second, third, and fourth level in any country. Don't forget the 777-8 will fly to Hawaii from here, so you can see the reach and all these little things. So when they build this airport, we kind of persuaded the government to build this airport, the new Al Maktoum International. When it opens, it'll be 163 million passengers, which is almost double what Heathrow does today. And that allows us to, with the two airlines working, you know, as one, but separate brands, to expand into multiple places. And that's the game plan, and hence more 777s and more. Eventually, we will re-look at the 350s and see how they fit into this.
Demand continues to rise. I think it's also fair to say that customer expectations are rising as well. As you wait for this new capacity, you've also been underway with this really significant refurbishment program on the inside of the aircraft, and you're also adding features like Starlink, for example. Might I say, a long time coming.
Absolutely.
So walk me through that refurbishment plan.
Well, again, the delays into the X program, we just had to decide that this was going to happen. So in July 21, certainly I could see that we were going to be in trouble if we didn't do something, because the signs were that capacity was not going to come at us at the place at the rate that we had planned and contracted for. So by now, we would have had 100 and 110 777s flying. So without absent, these aeroplanes had to go back into our hangars and be refurbished. So we did that, and that's now a $6.5 billion of our own cash program to do the 380s and do the 777s. But of course we had to put premium economy in. We refurbished the business class. We redesigned the first class cabins, which will come in the next round of upgrade. So we're doing it at the moment. As soon as we finish that, they go back in again, and we do the refurbishment again. So if we hadn't done that, and you mentioned Starlink, which has been the bane of our lives in terms of connectivity, because everybody wants it, everybody expects it. When you go in a hotel or a restaurant, you just think, I'm going to turn it on. When you can't do it on an airplane, it's really frustrating. So with Starlink, we unlock that ability to do just about anything and everything, and by the end of next year we'll have most of the fleet done. So taken together with the refurbishment, the new line of products that we've put into them, and there's more coming, plenty more coming, The 777 is a new product range. I'm not going to tell you what's in there, but it's another thing altogether as well. So it's very exciting.
What's the outlook for fares into the new year as well, and how are you assessing overall margins in the industry right now?
Margins are good. Let's be quite honest. I mean, we just closed our financial first half year and we're about 14.9 net margin. Balance sheets are strengthening. You know, apart from the sort of periphery, most airlines, unless they're in a complex, overly complex business model, are making money now, and the balance sheets are strengthening. And hey ho, we need to because we know the cyclical nature of the business we're in, and the global economy can turn. But people tell me that during COVID, QE was going on at such a pace. There's so much money around and it's inflating the global economy, so people are spending because they get value now rather in the future. There's lots of reasons for all of this, but you have to be aware that historically there is cycles. I mean, we're only nearly 100 years away from the 29 crash, and people say, oh, it's a 100-year cycle. We have to arm ourselves against that, and I kind of think at the moment it's great. We're used to downturns. We've had to navigate quite a few of those in the 40 years that we've been in existence, and we prepare for that. But so long as the demand is strong, as long as the segments of demand that we deal with are particularly aspirational, they are fairly demanding, particularly with the things that you and I talked about, product and connectivity, etc. As long as we can step up and continue meeting that and go beyond what they think they're going to get, that's the best thing that we do at the moment. So we will continue along those lines. If the going gets tough, hey ho, we'll deal with it.
Quick one, biggest risk into the year ahead, what is it?
The biggest risk? Well, I guess we've had so much interdiction in the last few years. I mean, the geopolitics of the region has been quite testing, but the fact is we got through COVID, we got through all the changes that have been going on here, and we've still made money. I suppose the biggest risk is that we've got to keep on making money and pushing out the product and delivering it at the pace that we've always done. Now they're very expectant. They say, well, you did that last year, or you do it this year, so off you go again. So we've got to keep that pressure on the group, on the employee base to get it done. I think we can do that. Supply chain has been an issue. You probably learned that we are now setting up our own manufacturing capability just in this area. So we take the pressure off the supply chain, take more into our own bailiwick, so we don't get constrained by all the things we're doing. We haven't got seats, we haven't got galleys, haven't got televisions. We're taking control of that as best we can. So we'll see.